morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. Um, we are really excited about this session. Today's webinar, Fast Track to Impact, Launching Glean for Organizational Success. My name is Baptiste, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. This topic is one that's really close to my heart. I have joined Glean less than 3 months ago, and I've seen just how fast one can get value out of using Glean. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce today's presenter who will be leading you through today's session, Ben from our solution engineering team. Before I hand it over to him, I just like to remind everyone that this is a live interactive session and you'll get even more out of your experience if you take some time to engage with your fellow attendees in the chat. Feel free to chime in with your question and comment as we go. We'll have some time to take 1 or 2 questions at the end of the session. And I think that's it for me. Ben, over to you.
All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Ben, and as he mentioned, I'm a solutions engineer here at Glean. In my time at Glean, I've partnered with many customers to roll out Glean to their entire company and help them evolve into AI native organizations. And in recent webinars, we've spent a lot of time diving deep into Glean agents. So in this session, we want to spend some more time talking about what parts of Glean actually underpin Glean functionality by talking about the foundational elements of Glean. So this is the current reality for most customers. They're already adopting AI tools, but they are scattered across various departments and use cases. In 2024, that was the year of experimentation with businesses trying out a variety of AI solutions from different vendors. And with the proliferation of AI and each vendor providing their own AI offering, we are seeing a ton of customers struggle to put together a cohesive AI roadmap and strategy. The reason is because they have a lot of different AI point solutions, and with those point solutions come several challenges. There's security and governance concerns across a diverse set of AI tools. It's hard to keep track of everything. Each point solution has a narrow set of context and data that it's working off of. There's difficulty achieving efficiency and maximizing data value when AI is spread across 15 different data silos. And ultimately, AI ROI is still unclear, and customers are questioning the return as AI initiatives grow. So the path forward from our perspective is moving from a fragmented, small-scale AI efforts to a unified platform approach. So the start of the AI journey in becoming an AI native business starts with the foundational and fundamental in making sure each user becomes an AI native employee. And so this starts with landing the world's best AI assistant fully connected to enterprise data. The Glean Assistant understands organizational context, helping every employee work faster, better, and ultimately more efficiently. And quite honestly, from what I've seen, just this step alone delivers immediate value. Once employees have adopted the use of Glean Assistant, then do customers start to leverage agents. And with agents, Glean provides a predefined set of AI agents that businesses can deploy to automate business processes across departments. And customers can select from a menu of AI agents tailored to their business needs. And so in 2025, there's been a lot of discussion about agents and agentic AI. And we believe it's important to not lose sight of the fundamentals of Glean, which is why we want to revisit the foundational concepts today that underpin Glean Assistant and Glean agents. So just looking at Glean's evolution, you can see how Glean has delivered on this capability. In 2021, we launched AI-powered enterprise search. Then in 2023, when the generative AI explosion happened, we quickly built and shipped an AI assistant that took search further, helping users not just find information, but generate answers, summaries, and insights utilizing that information. And then 2024 was the year of evolving from search to action. And so last year, we introduced the Work Assistant platform, bringing agentic capabilities to Glean. This enabled users to draft content, conduct research, analyze data, and deploy AI-powered chatbots and apps within their organization. And most recently, in 2025, we've expanded into a full platform for AI agents. So this is one of my favorite slides to talk to customers about, as it highlights Glean's architecture at a very high level. So Glean connects to all of your data sources and indexes data in either a SaaS Glean hosted deployment or in your own VPC in a self-hosted cloud premise deployment. As Glean crawls and indexes data, Glean builds what we refer to as our knowledge graph, which can be thought of as your company's enterprise brain, which is something that we'll talk more about later in this presentation. And then really everything else in Glean is built off of this foundational knowledge graph. So enterprise search, Glean assistant, and Glean agents. And to sum it up, Glean essentially eliminates the prerequisite of needing to get your data ready for AI in the enterprise in a safe and secure way. So we recently worked with Forrester to build a total economic impact benchmark for enterprise companies. And during this process, Forrester projected some pretty impactful metrics that customers can realize. And so several examples of these are Glean saves up to 110 hours per year per user of work. And another example is employee onboarding can be reduced by about 36%, or 36 hours, excuse me. And overall, the estimated payback of Glean investment can be less than 6 months, which is pretty quick return on investment from what we've seen. So let's go ahead and actually jump into a demo, and we're going to use enterprise search as our demo for today. So I'm going to jump over to the Glean UI here. And just right off the bat, as a quick reminder, Glean is a signed on experience, so everything is going to be personalized down to the user. And I have this Glean browser extension enabled, which really helps drive adoption of Glean through enterprise search and enterprise chat, because every time I open up a new tab, we're brought to this Glean homepage. Just going to start here and execute a relatively simple Glean search. And I'm going to say React style guide. Add a T in there. Cool. And so right off the bat, you'll be brought to this enterprise search results page. On the right side here, you can see all of the different data sources that we have connected to this Glean demo environment. And so what's happening here is that Glean is searching across all of these source systems that have been indexed into an index within Glean to find the most relevant search results based off of the keyword-based search and the semantic-based search of my query here. And so you'll see at this top here, we've got a React style guide. And so what I can do is actually go ahead and summarize this document right here. And essentially this becomes an assistant or a chatbot on top of this specific document so that I can start to ask, various questions like what are the styling conventions, for example. And so this is a great way of getting a quick understanding and getting information out of a document without actually having to go read through a document. So I'll go back to the screen here. And now I'm going to ask more of a natural language question, like what is Glean's crawl strategy, for example? And so right off the bat, again, you'll see the search results that are returned based off of the nature of my question. But at the top here, you'll see our AI assistant starts to come into play. So in the same way that you might execute a Google search and get a nice AI summary at the top of the search results page, Glean will actually summarize the answer or the information from the most relevant search results and actually cite those search results and documents in the citation so that users can quickly get an understanding of where this information is coming from and double click just to make sure that everything is 100% accurate. And so we find that this really builds up trust with the end users because they can just verify that information is 100% accurate. And then over time, they just start to trust Glean more and more. So one of the things to highlight here is we're pulling in a lot of different data from each of these different data sources. But one of the key things that we're pulling in is permissions data. And so where permissions data plays a role within Glean is anytime a user executes a Glean search, the results that are shown back to them in that search result are permissions enforced. And the way that we do that is we essentially just mirror data source permissions. So for example, if I create a Google document and I share it with my teammate Samir, but I don't share it with my teammate Thomas, Samir will be able to find that document whenever he's executing a search in Glean, whereas my other coworker Thomas will not be able to. So that's just a great example of the type of data that Glean is actually pulling in anytime we connect to a data source. And so, as I briefly mentioned during the demo, whenever Glean is connected to a data source like a Jira, a Confluence, or a SharePoint, Glean is crawling several different types of data. So, we're going to be pulling in people data to build a comprehensive understanding of your organization structure so that we can ensure we can personalize everything down to the user level. We pull in permissions data. So again, as I just mentioned, this is to ensure that users are only seeing data that they're supposed to. And then we're also pulling in activity data, which the way to think about it is metadata about content that we're crawling. So think of how many times has this document been shared in a Slack channel? How many times has this document been updated in the last 30 days? All of these different enterprise signals, about 50 or 60 enterprise signals, we're pulling in to ultimately influence this knowledge graph and influence the search rankings from there. And this is essentially how we create this enterprise brain within your organization that understands everything about your company. So let's dive into another demo. We talked about enterprise search. Now let's talk about how we can utilize Glean Assistant to enhance productivity. So I'm going to jump back into my Glean environment here, and I'm going to navigate to the chat page. So, and I'm going to switch this to company knowledge. By default, we have this turned on to world knowledge and always search the web if I wanted to do that. But I want to ensure that I'm searching my company knowledge for this query. And so I'll say, how does Glean help customer support teams work more efficiently? And so when I run this query, there's a couple of things that you'll see happening. So right off the bat, Glean is going to take that natural language question and turn that into a set of search queries. And then using that search, we'll go find the most relevant documents using our search ranking mechanism. And then we'll pull out the information from those documents, the most relevant text snippets, and then serve that up to the LLM so that the LLM can, respond, summarize, generate insights, things of that nature. And you can see here, these are 6 documents that it got hit when it searched for the specific query. And then it generated a response, kind of helping me understand how Glean helps customer support teams become more efficient. Again, citing all of these resources in line here so that users can quickly identify where this information came from. And then I can even actually look at all of the documents that were cited in the response, as well as some other sources that were referenced here. So this is a great example of how Glean Assistant can kind of just help you, become more efficient in your day to day. So think of like a salesperson or a go-to-market person who needs to understand all of the different use cases tied to maybe a specific product or feature. Glean Assistant is easily able to pull that information and summarize that on behalf of the user. So now let's talk through a little bit more of a complex assistant use case. And so again, I'm going to switch back to company knowledge. And what I'm going to do is rather than doing a generalized Glean search, I'm going to use this document tagging feature that Glean has, where if I insert that @ symbol and then I start typing in the document that I'm looking for, and then I select the document that I'm looking for, which in this case is product usage data. What I'll do is I'll say perform analysis on this data and please pull out the key trends. And so when I run this query, you're going to see that Glean, because it's agentic by nature, is going to invoke what we refer to as data analysis. This is a specific tool that the Glean chat is using in an agentic workflow to get the job done in answering the question or providing insights in this case. So this is going to take about 30 to 60 seconds to run. And so what I'm going to do is go over to our slides and talk through a couple more slides, and then we'll come back to this to see the output of this. But you can see everything happening here as we're chatting. So as I mentioned, one of the interesting things about Glean Chat is that it really is actually agentic by nature. And so Glean's agentic workflow is built around 5 key steps to deliver accurate answers and drive actions within this workflow. So first, Glean is going to evaluate the query. If it's a straightforward query, Glean will use a search for a quick knowledge-backed response. If it's more complex, then we move into more of the agentic reasoning. Then, based off of the initial search results that it gets back, the agent is going to reflect, assessing its confidence in the search results and deciding whether or not to advance. And then if needed, Glean will actually plan by breaking down the question, gathering background info, and developing a clear multi-step approach if it needs to invoke this agentic workflow. And then from there, the agent will, or Glean chat in this case, will execute. And sub-agents use the right tools like search or data analysis or even email, working together to achieve the ultimate goal. So in this case, we're referring to what we're seeing in the demo is the data analysis tool that it's taking advantage of. And so finally, after all the agentic steps have happened, Glean will respond, whether that's generating a natural language answer, completing actions like closing tickets or notifying teams. So that real work actually gets done, not just the questions that are being answered. And so one of the unique differentiators of Glean is that we truly want to ensure that customers are able to take advantage of the best technology on the market. And a great example of this is Glean's Model Hub. So in this case, Glean provides a universal LLM key that allows customers to choose which model is best suited for their needs. So this means that if there's a new breakthrough model, our customers are not locked into one LLM provider and can easily switch to the new model that they'd like to use. Additionally, Glean's Model Hub allows customers to choose which model makes sense for the use case that they're building an agent for. So, for example, if a customer finds that Claude Sonnet 4 is best suited for a coding pull request review use case, then they can easily use that model for that specific agent that they're building. And so let's jump back into this chat window to see everything that's taken place. So it looks like it's still analyzing the data. It's going through a series of steps to ultimately understand what the data means. And again, it's just reading this document here. So while this is running, we can actually go to a separate Glean chat that I executed earlier just to see what the output looks like. So you can see the key trends in product usage data, January 2022 to March 2025. It says the product usage metrics from January 2022 through March 2025 reveal several important trends. So there was steady growth, and then there was a major spike and accelerated growth in early 2025. So you can see that it's actually analyzing the product usage data to identify that there was a significant spike in December 2024, about 20% increase, and then a 110% and 110% increase in February and March. So this is a great tool for where maybe you don't want to have to spend a lot of time going through an Excel sheet or a Google sheet to understand what the trends are in data. You can actually have your Glean assistant take a first pass at that and pull out as many key trends as it can find, and then it'll kind of summarize everything down here, which is great. So again, this is an agentic tool that this Glean chat is using to ultimately answer the user's question in a comprehensive way. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Baptiste, and we can go through some of the questions that have popped up in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much for those insights, Ben. We have a few minutes for questions. There was one from Raj about what are the details on what permission data is ingested for the different third-party sources. I think we have some documentation for that on docs.glean.com already, so I'm just pasting that link in the chat.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we can follow up with you, Raj, after the webinar, but I think the Docs website is already good resources for that.
Yeah.
Sumita asked, is this a live Glean is this your live Glean deployment for Glean employee, or is this a demo? I'm just curious at how it looks like when it is really used in a large company.
Mhm. Yeah, so this is actually a demo environment that we put together for our Glean Go conference back in May. So there's a small subset of data in here compared to our Glean production environment. And so if you were to actually able to see our Glean production environment, you would see probably around 20 to 30 data sources connected with millions of documents connected. So it's a lot more robust, but this demo environment's great for kind of getting the point across on a subset of data that's controlled.
And the UI is the same.
The UI is exactly the same.
Cool. One question that we got as we were getting ready for this webinar was whether any particular departments where you've seen the most impact from Glean as you're talking to customers all the time working with Glean.
Mhm. Yeah, so one thing I'll say is that Glean is well suited for basically every employee in every department from what I've seen. And so we've seen great success across sales, customer support, engineering, and again, like entire organizations. And typically, what we like to do as a part of an evaluation or a rollout of Glean is sit down with maybe some AI champions from each department and understand the use cases in depth, and then map Glean functionality or Glean agents to kind of fulfill those use cases across each department as a way of making sure that every department is kind of driving value from Glean. And we've got a ton of case studies on our website that I highly recommend checking out.
Cool. Are there, like, we've talked about the impact of Glean, but obviously at the end of the day, it also really just depends on how, like, your employees are using the tool. Like, do you have any best practices for driving employee adoption of Glean?
Yeah, I'd say there's a couple. The first one is that making sure that all of your company's data is connected to Glean to really maximize its use. A lot of times, what I see with customers in an initial deployment, they want to start with maybe one data source connection, like a SharePoint. The
Mm,
power of Glean is being able to search and pull in context from as many data sources as possible. And you'll find that the more data that you have connected, the less that employees have to go search through other systems. And they could just go through this portal into their entire enterprise knowledge graph or enterprise brain. So that's one thing. And then I think one of the other important drivers here is to encourage users to install and use the Glean extension in Glean mobile app. The Glean extension will essentially help drive usage by anytime someone opens up a new tab, they'll be brought to this Glean homepage where they have Glean search and Glean chat sitting right there. Um, and that will kind of build up the habit of using generative AI in their day to day. And that's where I see a lot of companies drive more usage.
right. Makes a lot of sense. All right. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, we're
Sure.
almost at time, but we shared that Forrester study on the total economic impact of Glean. I shared the link earlier in the chat. Let me share it again. Here you go. It's a great read if you'd like to see the full study. I also shared a poll if you'd like to know more about how Glean can help you and your team. We'd be happy to follow up with a one-on-one demo. And yeah, happy to see you at another upcoming webinar. Let us know.